The car started out as just your everyday 1970 Dodge Challenger. So we chopped everything from inside out, the whole front end off it. The build was pretty intense. It was 3 years of just crazy hours. I mean, where it sits right now, it's probably around between 12 to 1500 horsepower.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Sean, Autotopia LA. Today we're here with my buddy Rob from Ridesbykam. Rob flew in from Australia. You know, this car, you guys have seen it before, Havoc Challenger. So this car is about to go to a new owner. So you were doing a couple things to now make it from, we'll call it show car status, right, to actually being a car that's gonna be driven around our lovely streets of LA.
We have a lot of rules in Australia. We can't just do whatever we please to a, let's say, a 1970 Dodge Challenger and then register it. It's not like that.
Yeah.
We have to get an engineer in, and they need to engineer your brakes, your steering, your suspension, your chassis. You're not allowed to put a full chassis, a new chassis in a car in Australia unless you do what they call a torsion beam test. The car started out as just your everyday 1970 Dodge Challenger.
Yeah.
It was a driving car. It had a 383 Mopar motor in it. Well, I actually drove it for a little bit. So we chopped everything from inside out, the whole front end off it. So all that was left was pretty much from here to the back, and it was on a jig, and then we built it from there. So the first stage was the Roadster Shop chassis. I mean, I love them guys. They got such quality products.
Yeah.
And we'd come into America with the car. I knew it'd be a really cool thing. And then one of the most important reasons I went with that chassis is because it's independent rear suspension, which is, I think, is a really cool idea in a 1970 muscle car.
Absolutely.
So that was the basis of it. And then next we went to Stanton Race Engines, which is the Mopar racing division, I believe. And we got them to build us the 572 big block Hemi. Like, it's just a monster of a thing. Like, absolutely a monster, which they engine dynoed at about 900 horsepower.
Just the engine.
Just the engine by itself.
Before you.
Yeah. And that was really cool because my engine builder, Jake, which is here with me now from Jake's Performance in Australia, he sort of spec'd it out for him, and then they built it as per what he wanted to get it spec'd out to. And then we went with a F3R Procharger, which, yeah, it's so big, like,
It's massive.
like that.
Yeah.
Sucks in pedestrians on the crossing as you're pulling up. You just got to be careful of that. The build was pretty intense. It was 3 years of just crazy hours. I stopped counting at 6,000 hours, and that was, you know, I didn't want to know after that. But
I'll bet.
But pretty much every single internal piece, every square inch of this inside interior is hand-built steel. And the cool thing is that the tail shaft is in a tube and it floats through the middle of the car, and that's really because the car's so low, otherwise you would have to have a tunnel like that. In-house we do interior, wiring, body, fabrication, paint, and final fit up. So the only thing we really outsource is the engine work, which is always done by Jake. We've got 3 shops in the one complex. One is like the sheet metal shop and the trim shops upstairs, and then the second shop is the paint shop and the spray booth and the body shop. And the third shop's got our plasma table in it and all that sort of stuff, our CNC plasma cutter. That's sort of where we put all the steel work back in and fabricate the cars.
Yeah. I know part of why you came to town was to take it and get it tuned. Typically people go to dyno to see how much power can we make. You were doing the kind of a little different. You were going for, let's get this thing tuned so it can run on 91 pump rather than having to buy jugs of fuel.
So we had the 101 octane that you've been putting in Havoc, which is fine, but you know, that's not realistic when you're on the road. If he's starting to run low on gas and he needs to pull into a gas station, we needed to change that, because if you tune it for 101 and he puts 91 in it, it's not going to be happy. It's going to hurt things.
Yeah.
So Jake sort of said, you know, let's just pump all the fuel out, clean everything out of the tank, put 91, the best fuel that you can get from the Bowser here, and or
get
the
from
gas
what?
pump. The gas pump.
What do you call it?
Fuel Bowser in Australia.
I'm learning so many new words, man.
Yeah. We weren't really chasing numbers because we kind of know where the numbers are at.
Yeah.
I mean, where it sits right now, it's probably around between 12 to 1500 horsepower.
On
The
pump
supercharger
gas.
is always good for 2500 horsepower, but this car will never be set at that.
Yeah.
It's just too much for the road use shit.
Sure.
I mean, at the end of the day, even 700 is enough for the street.
Oh gosh,
So-
yeah.
So we basically wanted to make sure that we could make everything happy and everything work well on pump gas.
Yeah.
So we kind of weren't chasing numbers, and we were just basically, if anything, detuning it a little bit
Right.
to suit to being a little bit more of a practical driver, more so than trying to, control a caged animal on the street. So with meeting with, I've been talking to Dylan, the new buyer. Being with COVID, we couldn't fly to US until now, so it's been 2 years.
Yeah.
So meeting with Dylan yesterday, going to his house, looking at his driveway, scoping out his streets of what he's going to be driving this car on, we know now that we have to probably make a few more changes.
Yeah.
This car sits way too low for where he's going to be using it.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to contact Ride Tech, and we'll change the height and the stroke of the shockwave shock that's in it.
Yep.
So we'll literally lift it up 1.5 inches, which means that it won't go as low, yes, but it won't really need to.
Right. Yep.
So then the other thing is obviously we wanted to make sure he could see, so we put some side mirrors on it, and then obviously seatbelts for everyday road use are a must. And the best seatbelt scenario in something like this with power is a racing harness. I mean, the drag racers use it for a reason.
Yep.
It holds you into that seat firm.
Like, I know we could talk for an hour on just the metalwork alone on the car, but some of the most obvious and just personal opinion, some of the most extraordinary metalwork I've seen before this is all you guys, right? This is all, and the underside
Underneath of the hood.
to fit all this.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I kind of built the car around the engine, but I didn't want the engine hanging out the hood. So that's why with the hood, normally this hood, with this lump that you see here, or the rise that you see here would be down here with this at that height.
Right.
So basically I just rebuilt that whole center section of the hood. And then with the engine, Justin is a good friend of mine from Scott's Hot Rods. I designed this cover up here, and I knew he had some Mopar covers at his shop. And I just wanted to hide the plug leads, because you all know Hemis go, but the Mopar stuff goes in through the top of the valve cover, which is kind of a little bit of an eyesore. So Justin made them in his CNC for me, which is a really cool idea. They look really cool, and then we just thought it'd be even cooler just to put the car's name in each side. And then this big lump that you see here, that's the throttle body under there. And this is actually the manifold itself that we built in the shop, back at our shop, and then sent it to Jake, our engine builder. And then down through here is where the intake system is that runs straight into the Procharger. And then these twin pipes that you see off each side of the race valves, which is basically what lets all the air that supercharger is producing out until you put your foot down and boost comes on.
Again, with metal, this whole front of this car is, like, in my opinion, and I've heard people make comments, right? Like, I've seen comments where, why did he use a Ford logo? He didn't use a Ford logo.
No, it's a Havoc logo.
It's a Havoc
They
logo.
mustn't be able to read.
And the oval looks wonderful to me. This is all like handmade, yeah?
Yeah, this is probably one of my favorite parts of the car, and
Yeah.
probably one of the most time intense parts of the car. So this grille that you see here is the original grille from this car from 1970. And I wanted to make sure that I kept that, because to me, the iconic part of a Challenger is that expansion sort of shape as it gets bigger all the way out. Now, obviously with the headlights, I didn't really want to run any of that, so I've filled in all the front of the fenders. Jesse from Greenings, he's a mastermind. He built all this stuff. Now, this section you see in the middle here is exactly the same shape as the factory section that goes into the 70 Challenger, but we've made it out of billet, and we've put Havoc logo in the middle, and we've lit it up. So just as a really cool, unique feature.
Wow.
Now, these headlights that you see here, I actually had to build a steel replica of that exact shape and frame so that it actually bolted into the car. And then I sent them to Jesse, and Jesse built the billet version that you see right there.
And there's sounds that it makes, obviously, from the obvious to us, right? From the Procharger. But for people that don't understand what it is they're hearing, they think something's seriously wrong with the engine, or they think something sounds like crap. And when you know what it is, you go, that's bitching. Kind of like a dry clutch on a Ducati. It sounds like something's broken, and you hear it and you go, fucking love that.
Yeah, well, there's nothing like the sound of an F3. Like, as you would have heard the other day,
Yeah.
when it was at 3,000 or 4,000 revs, you nearly have to put your fingers in your ears. It's that high squealing and pitch. He goes, oh, the noises are coming out of the front of it, you know, something's loose. I said, no, man, that's just the Prochargers, you know, because they kind of sound like nuts and bolts flying around.
They do.
And shit going everywhere. And
They do.
You know, but yeah, that's just the Procharger. And because that's so big, and a lot of that noise you can hear is the air getting sucked in and pushed out those valves. So,
Yeah.
you know, and then you've got to remember it's gear driven. So you got gears on gears and no belts.
Yeah.
It's noisy.
Yeah, it is noisy. Well, cool. We're gonna leave you guys with a little bit of a fire up of Havoc Challenger, and yeah, enjoy the sounds you're about to hear, man. A couple of little revs, Just so, come here.
Yeah, we've come this far, nothing silly.
No, we don't need anything stupid, you guys.
Yep.
Except for, actually the final thing we're gonna do is just go out back here, quick little burnout.
Yeah,
One burnout,
no worries.
that's it.
You can
Just
do it.
one burnout. No, I'll do it. I'll do it
Yeah.
in reverse. Okay, so.